Greetings from the Nutmeg TV studios. I'm Eric DeMeo. Welcome to Behind the Show, a program created by Nutmeg TV to honor the folks in our community that are producing shows for your benefit and enjoyment. In other words, the content on this channel, for the most part, comes from regular people like you who decided that they'd like to give television a try. I wanted to see what makes them tick, how they got the idea to produce their program, and how they made it happen. So get ready for the show about a show, starting right now. My guest today is Bill Benson. Bill Benson is the host of Porch Time with Bill Benson.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with where'd you grow up?
I was born in Dutchess County, New York, and in a little town called Millbrook, which not many people know, but Millbrook was home for someone in the 60s that a lot of people know, Timothy Leary.
I did, yeah, I read that.
So it was a way out in the country. It was a good place to grow up, and then
sounds kind of idyllic.
Yeah, it really was. I lived out on a big old farmhouse, porches and so on. So yeah, it was good.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit more about your upbringing? Like, who were your parents? What did they do?
Well, my dad. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I had two brothers and a sister. My dad was a musician / engineer for IBM.
Oh, wow.
He actually was involved in the early stages of one of the IBM's first computers.
Oh, that's cool.
Which took up rooms, not not a laptop, but and we had a fairly normal country living. We were exposed to music early. My parents divorced early, so that kind of shifted us to different places, but it's all a part of upbringing.
Yeah,
it's all part of our life.
Sure. So for the folks at home, if you haven't seen it, Bill hosts Porch Time, and he has guests regularly who are from Connecticut and tour all over the country. Really, some pretty big names.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate in my musical career to either meet and play along with, or just get to know or want to get to know. And for me, the Porch Show has featured some pretty incredible musicians around the state, and I'm happy to bring them up into the Farmington Valley.
Yeah, and we're thankful to have you.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of this show, is to honor the community members and people that produce shows that you folks at home can enjoy. So, Mr. Bill, can you tell me, do you remember your earliest music memory? You said your dad was a musician?
Yeah,
what did he play?
He played guitar, and he was in, he played music in various places. We had a Benson family band.
Okay. Sounds fun.
It was a lot of fun. I was a drummer back then.
Okay.
But on the Victrola, or the stereo, there was always early country music.
Okay.
Porter Wagoner's and Marty Stewart and all the names that, if you're a country person, you know what was there. So I had a lot of that going on. And then I was young enough in the Beatles time. Kind of gravitated a little bit to that. And then as I discovered singer-songwriters, I found Dan Fogelberg and Jackson Browne and that type of music that really resonated with me. And then I was like, I would like to learn to play guitar.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any idea that I could write a song, but certainly I could play theirs.
What do you think what is it about singer-songwriters that you gravitate to?
Well, it's typically a very lyrical song.
Mm-hmm.
Singer-songwriter typically is a guitar or a piano.
Yeah.
They all have bands, but it's about the song. And so, the Rolling Stones, it's about the song, but it's about the rock.
Yeah.
But a singer-songwriter like Jackson Browne or Dan Fogelberg, there's a poetry and a depth to their music that I just found drew me right in.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the Beatles, because as I was growing up, I was told by friends who are musicians, if you really want to learn, or maybe the best way to learn music is with the Beatles, to not only learning, how to play the guitar, but how to write songs, how to arrange songs.
Well, if you and everybody.
Is that still good advice?
It's still great advice, because if you look at their catalog of music, they started out as mop tops that shook their heads.
Yeah.
But however, they grew this catalog, and so they never stayed locked into one thing.
Right.
They explored, they experimented.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, if you're a musician or a potential songwriter, follow them.
So you mentioned some of your favorites. Now, do you get into kind of like the life of the artist? Like if you have a hero, do you try to learn about, how they grew up and stuff like that?
Well, it becomes a part of the history of finding out a little bit more about them. However, as a singer-songwriter, as a songwriter, you can find out a lot about them in their song, in their music. So, it's maybe less important to know where they grew up or how they developed. It's more important for me because I look at John Denver.
Yeah.
John Denver, was a country boy in the Colorado, but a lot of his music and a lot of these singer-songwriters' music is personal, glimpse of. And if you look at my music that I've written, it's a personal glimpse of my life, because I don't write about anything that I don't know about or haven't seen or felt, or I can't write a song about driving a 18-wheeler truck on the highway because I've never driven one.
Yeah, I was listening to your album, and I was struck by how well, it sounds beautiful, first of all, but the lyrics were the type of lyrics that anyone that listens to, they can kind of get their own interpretation of it. And
yeah, and that's a goal. That's not really a goal of mine. It just happens. And I've had people say to me, "You write music that is accessible, and you just feel it." Yeah. And maybe you feel that, well, thank God I wasn't the only one going through that. So, it really is. And that's what a singer-songwriter does.
Yeah.
You put something out there, and some of it can be very personal. Mm-hmm. I did a show last Saturday, and I didn't intend to do it, but I looked out into the audience as I was singing one of my songs, and there was a woman wiping away tears.
Really?
So it had nothing to do with her, but it had something to do with what connected to her.
What she brought, her life experience. So I'm sure you've written hundreds, or almost 100 songs, or about that. Out of all of them, is it even possible to have a favorite that you've written? And would you even tell us what it was if you did?
Well, I do have favorites, but sometimes it depends on my favorite at the moment. Mm-hmm. So if I've written a new song, it's my favorite, and I like it. It's my favorite at the moment. I wrote a song. Actually, I'm in the running for Connecticut State Troubadour.
Oh wow!
And part of the responsibility or the application was to write a song about Connecticut, and I wrote a song about Connecticut. and then I test it by listening to it over and over, and I haven't gotten tired of it. And then I test it in my live performances. So that I've come to know as a title, and that's kind of my favorite right at the moment.
So do you prefer live or recording in the studio?
Live.
Yeah.
Live, definitely. Studio to me is necessary. If there's a way to get a quality recording live, I would love to do that, mainly because the whole energy and performance creates a different type of performance.
Can you tell us about some of your memorable gigs, maybe?
The one I did on Saturday was incredibly memorable. Great place, great venue called the Packing House.
Okay.
In Wellington, and I was on the bill with someone that I only heard once, but when I heard him, I wanted him to join me on the show. And so that was TJ Sweeney is his name, and that was a great show. For me, I love music, and I love performing.
Yeah.
And I think what's more memorable to me are the places that I never have to go back to again, because they weren't special. They weren't where I belonged, or what have you. So
yeah, I was going to ask about that. I mean, I've done sound and video for a while, and sometimes you get to a venue and you're just like, something, either the there's a problem, or the guy that owns the place is a little off.
Well, again, if you love playing music, you will try to play anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have come to understand over the years that there are certain places that I fit better. Yeah. And that I prefer to play. So farmers markets, small afternoon restaurants, vineyards, those are all places that I know I belong.
Yeah. So a little birdie told me there's something about a green chair. What's the significance of the green chair?
The green chair, and you'll see it on my porch show, and I always sit in it. I occasionally will have a guest sit in it, and I have to tell them that's my chair, and you sit on this white one. The significance of the green chair is probably 8 or 9 years ago. Probably 10 years ago, I started to get back into playing music because I put it away for a while. And I found this green chair along the side of the road that somebody was discarding. And it was an old, funky chair, and I stopped and I picked it up. And I sat in it many hours writing songs in it. So it comes to the porch. It's getting a little old and rickety now, so I have to kind of, because I have sat on it a lot.
I'm getting the feeling that you're a little bit superstitious, because you also, you've named your guitars, I think, right?
Yes, I have named my guitars. I have, my latest one is called Birdie, and I have a cowboy and I have a gypsy. So, yeah, it's some superstitious, but inspiration, you know, so sitting in the green chair and having written as many songs as I've written in it, and have them become a part of my live shows and requests. So yeah, it comes with me a lot. It doesn't come with me to every gig, but it definitely comes to the porch.
Okay. So let's get back to what we were talking about a couple minutes, maybe venues that were a little bit difficult. Now, there's this whole thing with live performance now of playing for exposure. Rather, so for the folks at home that don't understand, an owner of a venue will say, you can come to play, but I'm not paying you anything. You're getting exposure.
Yeah, that's a crock.
Yeah,
it really is it's an unfortunate. Excuse me. And I fell into that trap many years ago. because I was just starting out.
Yeah.
And so people would say to me, it's great exposure, and you can put a tip bucket up, but playing for exposure, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I decide where it feels good to play, and if that comes out of anybody's mouth, then I disregard it.
Yeah.
I did an event a few weeks ago at JCC Mandrell in West Hartford called Touch a Truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the person contact me. They wanted some live music for it. It was a children's event.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized that they didn't have a budget for a musician. And I said, it's okay. I'll come and play.
Yeah.
I don't need to. It's not for exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a successful musician in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And have opportunities that pay. And I also don't mind giving back too.
Right.
Because giving back is giving back, and so fortunate.
That's clear because I've heard also people say to you, why do you have your show where you bring guests on? Why isn't it just you playing? Right.
Because I am. First of all, I'm a fan of music as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good music, good people. It's goodwill.
Yeah.
So. In my general area where I am, I'm focused and I'm trying to expand on that, I have a very busy summer schedule. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about someone coming into Farmington Valley and taking a gig from me.
Right.
And I think for the purpose of my show, it really has been to bring in these people into this area because they deserve to be heard. And I understand as a musician how hard it is to break in to other areas. But by bringing in somebody from East Haddam
Mm-hmm.
or Milford or New Haven,
Yeah.
Up into this area, I've suddenly gotten opportunities to go into those areas.
Right.
And so confidence and confidence and quality, it's really it's a good combination for everyone, for the world.
Yeah, I really respect that. You bring a lot of humbleness to your show, but and a lot of positivity. So that's another reason why we're honoring you here.
Yeah, and thank you.
So let's talk about the Nutmeg show. How did you even hear about Nutmeg TV?
Well, interestingly enough. 2.5 years or so ago, I put out my first CD.
Mm-hmm. Which is called?
This Old House.
Okay.
And Justin, who is a part of Nutmeg now,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
was a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
And he suggested to the folks here at Nutmeg that they were considering doing a show.
Yeah.
And so Nutmeg contacted me, and we did a show called The Audio Files with Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a whole lot of fun, something I had never thought of doing or had done before. And at that moment, I wanted to bring in some friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And because it wasn't my produced show, they said, no, we want the show to be about Bill. If you would like to bring in some guests, that'd be great, but they have to do your stuff.
Yeah.
However, if you wanted to do your own show, you go through this process
Right. Mm-hmm.
of training, and then you can produce and do your own show the way you'd like. So I knew right at that moment that I wanted to do a show because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do a show called Porch Time because I wanted my friends and musicians to come hang out on the porch.
Yeah.
And it could be anything I wanted it to be.
Right. Yeah, that's what it seems like. The set is really nice. It looks like you're sitting on the porch at nighttime, and that's really the feel that you were going for, and you
really, and
succeeded.
that's been fun because I've had some guests come on the show and just say, it just felt like I was hanging out with you. So that's what I wanted. I was like you're hanging out on my porch.
Yeah, well, you succeeded in that for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your album. Where did you record it?
I recorded it in a studio in Avon called Sonos Studios, and that's where I'm recording the new one I'm doing right now.
It sounds great. You know, the vocals sounds really clear, really clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know the title of the next album?
Yes, it's called Come a Little Closer.
Come a Little Closer.
And the title is a dual purpose. I wrote a song called Come a Little Closer. Mm-hmm. And as much as I loved my first studio CD, This Old House, I had people come up to me afterwards and said, "We love the CD, but when we come and see you live, mm-hmm. You don't have all the extra stuff on it, and I almost prefer you without the other stuff,
like the harmonies
and the flute and the banjos and so on that are on the first one." And truly, I loved it. And out of those songs, the ones that I loved the best were simple. Myself, my vocal, and a guitar, mm-hmm. or myself, so it was the simpler ones.
So that's what.
So Coming a Little Closer on the second one, it's a stripped down version with maybe one other instrument, just like the favorites that were on the first album. Now,
we here at Nutmeg have always wondered about the significance of your tattoo. Is there any significance there?
Yes, a wonderful person in my life gave me a leather strap bracelet. Mm-hmm. And I wore it and wore it and wore it and wore it and wore it. I never took it off. And then I wore it to the point where it was worn and ended up snapping. And so I knew that as important as it was, I couldn't have that, but I could have this. And
good idea.
So I have the leather bracelet on a leathery old man skin.
Awesome. So when you play live, is it just your own stuff, or do you do covers as well?
I do. It depends. The venue, I do a farmer's market in Collinsville where you can only do originals or public domain work. Mm-hmm. But I like to mix it up. Yeah. And I've been fortunate because I can, people enjoy my original music, and they also enjoy how I cover a song. Because I will tell you that if you want me to, if I cover a song and I have to feel it to own it, and I'll play it. There's a lot that I don't do. Yeah. And I don't want to sing a song that I don't feel. And so I have my favorites, and they've become interpretations and my friends or my audience favorites.
I heard there was an unfortunate story of a guitar maybe a few years ago.
Yes. I had Gypsy, who was my favorite guitar at the time. I had an accident with her, and I was rushing. Mm-hmm. I played at a farmer's market in Litchfield. I was rushing and was distracted by some friends who are fans, and I don't even know what you call them, but bringing me strawberries and vegetables, and so asking me when I'm coming back. And I have a routine of loading up my truck at the time. And everything went in a certain way, mm-hmm. And it just all fit perfectly. And except for that one day, I was in a hurry and I was distracted. I had my driver's door open, and I had to be somewhere. And I was 15 minutes late, so I hopped in my truck, slammed the door, turned the key, put it in drive, and heard clunk. And all I could think of was, can't afford tire trouble, but I had guitar trouble. Oh boy! I ran over the Gypsy. Yeah.
And that's like losing a family member, I'm sure. Right?
I was devastated, and fortunately, I was able to take it to a luthier friend of mine, and he was able to restore her.
So going back to your show, when you first were trying to get it up and off the ground, did you have any challenges, any hurdles?
Not really, because I knew what I wanted, and what I was able to do in the first half of the season, first session, was invite the friends I knew.
Yeah.
So that was sort of easy. And then I reached out to people that I wanted to know, and they liked the concept. And then it's just, so I think we're at 40 some odd, 48 episodes right now. And it's all been, I've got people, waiting for the next one.
Oh, great.
So the session to start.
The audience in TV land can look out for that.
Yeah.
The show is Wednesday nights, 8:30?
Yes.
Okay. And people have described your voice as beautiful, soothing, really, calm and mellow. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit like James Taylor, but a little with a country twinge to it.
Yeah, when I sing, this is definitely my voice, but it's like everybody. If you let your voice ring true, it can show off your influences, but they're your nuances.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said before, we just really were excited to have you on the show because you bring a lot to Nutmeg TV,
Awesome.
And we just wanted to honor people in the community that are bringing positivity and bringing other artists to the viewers at home. So I want to really thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
So that's all for tonight's episode. If you'd like to see this episode or others, we are on YouTube and nutmegtv.org. If anyone is interested in having their own show, you're welcome to give us a call. This is community TV.
I did it.
Mr. Benson did it, yes. So for everyone here at Nutmeg TV, thank you and good night.